All right, so today we're going over Java 4 lesson 2, and today we're talking about something called generic classes. All right, so first off, we have to start with kind of an example just to kind of lead you guys in. And the main thing with this is a short lesson in a way, but that's mainly because this example is the basic indicator of what you're supposed to do. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip through these two slides because they're the ones that are here. So this class continued on to 2 pages. It's pretty long. So this is the main method part, so we're gonna ignore that for now. But you can see down here that we have a class here, but instead of how usual classes are situated, which is class and then a name, we have angle brackets here and then some stuff that look like variable names here. So what these are they're called type parameters. And what this means is that they're parameters that can be put into a class. But what these are for, they're called type parameters, remember. So that means that they're parameters for data types mainly. So what this means is that the generic classes, that's what this is. Generic classes are used when you don't know what data type you're going to use yet. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they're used when you don't know what data type you want to use for your methods and variables yet inside the class. So when you enter these variable names, they represent the data types that you're going to enter in. So for example, this A, that's one data type, and B, that's another data type. And they all go within these angle brackets that go right after the name of the class. So you can see here with these two variables, I have like an A here that represents this data type here. And then the variable name here for the instance variable. And then we have a B here, and then the name for the second variable. So let's see, if we go on to the next one, you can see here that we have the constructor. And notice how when I do public random, which is how you start the constructor, I don't put the angle brackets in the. So in this case, it's only going to be public random. You can see here that I used the A for the first data type, A, B for the second data type, and the variable name B. And then you just set it like the same in here. And notice here how in the method, when you're doing the return type, you also use the data type if you want to return it. So you can see public A for the first data type, display A, which is the name, and then you return the first variable. So in this way, you can do a lot more with classes than just printing like integers out or printing strings out. It gives you a lot more free range over it, since, for example, if you wanted to do this display A and you wanted to, it was programmed as returning an int, but you wanted to return a string, because you already coded an int here, you can't print out, like, you can't return a string with this method, right? So in that case, you would have to do another method and return string then, which is a lot of code, right? You don't. The main thing with programming is that you're trying to reduce the amount of code you have to program. So if you have to copy the same code over again just because you wanted to do another data type, that wastes both time and also space. So that's why there's generic classes, just so that you're able to do more with only one method. All right, so going back over here to the main method here, you can see that we have random and then angle brackets, and then we actually put in data type here. So you can see integer and string. And then we have the variable A equals new random integer string, and then 5 hello. So just as notice how the type parameters here within here are also wrapper classes. So if you think about it, this looks a lot like something we learned before, which are like array lists, hash maps, hash sets, tree maps, those kind of things. You can see it looks very similar to that. And that's because array lists, hash sets, hash maps, tree sets, tree maps, they are all what we count as generic classes. Because if you look at the original code for them, you can see that they're actually generic classes with like A and B for them. So yeah, they're generic classes, which is why we have to put angle brackets and then data types in here, which is why it says also at proper classes. But otherwise, you can see that we initialize it the same as array lists and other things, like this. So in this case, when you're creating generic classes, you're kind of just creating your own array list in a way. So you can think about it like that. Anyways, last line we have here, we have a system.out.println and then a.display, which, if you can remember down here, we have an output of 5 because remember, the A here refers to this integer here. So that means the A data type is integer. That means this variable right here is an integer. And this 5 goes into here. And so when we're displaying A, we're actually just returning the integer 5. And which is why we get an output of 5. All right, so this kind of basically already summarizes what I just said. So generic classes are denoted by the angle brackets and the things inside of them, data types. A and B represent data types, but instead of setting a specific data type like usual, generic classes allow you to use any data type you want with it. And these are called type parameters. And okay, so next one, the array list is also essentially a generic class before we set the specific type we want to use. So is hash sets, hash maps, and so on. Yeah, that's it for the lesson. Like I said, sorry, voice is a little bit raspy. But like I said, this lesson is a short one, but it's also pretty important for when you're coding better code. So yeah, it's important to have. In a second, we'll be doing class problems. All right, so these are the class problems for today. And you can see we have the regular problems still and the challenge problems. So just make sure to do the regular problems and then try the challenge problems. It's important to learn all of this. Even though it's a short lesson, it's still important to learn all of this. So just make sure that you understand how to do these and you're confident in your understanding of these topics. Otherwise, that would be it for today.